Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hacker AJ Raven, and I'm back with my recap review of Animal Kingdom Season number 4, Episode number 4, which is titled Tank. So the episode opens up with Jeannine just lounging in front of the pool, and she is getting calls from the doctor because the doctor wants to talk to her about treatment for her cancer, and she just doesn't want none of it. And also, I noticed this bottle of vodka, so I guess that was like ad placement, but it makes sense considering what kind of show this is. So Angela notices Jeannine by the pool, and she goes and tells Pope about it, about how she noticed that Smurf was out by the pool last night, and now she is there in the morning, so it means that Smurf spent the night out there, and yada yada yada. Angela also talks about who these rooms belong to, who's Lena, and Pope tells that Lena is Baz's kid, but she doesn't live here anymore. So basic, and also she asks Pope where he's going, and Pope is like, "I'm going to work," and Angela is like, "Are they hiring? Because I don't like the place that I'm working with." And Pope is like, "You know what? I don't know, Angela." And also, I did notice the My Little Pony over here. So Lena likes horses. So, but basically, what Angela is telling Pope is that Smurf wants his attention. She's laying out there because she wants Pope to notice. So Pope ends up ignoring her at first. He like kind of makes his way towards the gate over here, but then he turns around and he asks Smurf what she wants. And Smurf kind of gets up and asks Pope whether or not he remembers the cat that he and Julia had. And turns out that the name of the cat was Stank. And one day the cat disappeared, and Julia thought that Pope had done something to it. And Pope is like, "You know what, Smurf? I never touched that cat." And anyway, after saying that, Smurf just stays silent. And I'm like, look how innocent she looks over here. But then again, it's Smurf. I don't trust her. So we get a flashback, and the guys that Jeannine is with are talking about robbing a bank and yada yada yada. And yeah, his hand does look weird in the oversized hoodie that he's wearing. So basically, what Jeannine is telling them is like they shouldn't go and continue to rob banks because robbing banks is dangerous. They have a lot of security, and that Jeannine knows about this hippie establishment near, and they should rob that. And the guy is like, "You know what? Keep your ideas to yourself." So, due to what Mia did in the previous episode, you know that Joshua doesn't want anything to do with her. And yep, as expected, he has locked Mia out of the house. And I'm like, you know what, Joshua? Do you know how dangerous Mia is? Don't you think that she is going to take revenge somehow? But anyway, let's see what happens. So Mia decides to call Joshua, but he's not picking her calls. He's busy at the mechanic. He has taken his truck over there, and he notices a car, and he ends up buying the car for the job that they're going to pull. And he buys the car at an expensive rate as long as the mechanic doesn't tell anyone that it was Joshua who bought it. So over at the Cody resident, Angela goes to Smurf, and she tells her that she should eat something because she has been drinking all day. And Smurf doesn't want anything to do with Angela's kindness. And she basically tells Angela that what kind of angle she's playing here, and she just doesn't trust Angela. And Angela is like, "Smurf, don't you believe in second chances?" And Smurf is like, I do believe in second chances. I just don't believe in the 10th chance." And that kind of annoys Angela. But before she leaves, she asks Smurf if she told her sons about what she did to Julia. And that just kind of quite Smurf up. So over at with the Codys, the boys are trying to figure out what to do with and how to pull the heist that they're planning. And I don't know about you, but I do notice that Sean Hatosi ended up wearing tight pants during this scene, and the way that the camera moved, his back was quite prominent in it. So I was like, I can see what you're doing there, director. I can see it. So basically, they bring up Frankie again about how they don't trust Frankie, and Craig is like, "It's all right. I trust her. You should trust me." So after Craig and Darren walk away, Pope comes to Joshua, and he tells Joshua that he is he apologizes. Joshua apologizes. Pope apologizes to Joshua about how he didn't do much for his mother and Joshua when they needed him. And basically, he blames it on Smurf because Smurf was filling the son's head with lies and they believed her. And Pope is like, I shouldn't have believed Smurf. And I'm like, Pope, it's a little too late. So Smurf breaks into Darren's house and she talks about whether or not Darren is planning something for her birthday, and Adrian is like, I'm not really sure. And she talks about going on a trip with her sons and yada yada yada. But before she leaves, she did bring lasagna for Adrian. And even before she leaves, she asks Adrian whether or not Darren hates her, and Adrian is like, I don't think Darren hates you. And Smurf is like, you're a bad liar, Adrian. And I'm like, if Smurf finds out what Adrian is up to with the feds, he's in danger. So over at the bar, Pope tells Darren about how the burger patties have freezer burn and he needs to do something about it. And Adrian is like, shoo, go away, Pope. I have other things to handle and I hired you to clean, so clean stuff instead of breaking it apart. So Joshua comes in and he talks to Darren about Frankie and how they're doing jobs for someone else as if they're hired help. And Adrian is like, I understand where you're coming from, Joshua, but the truth is that we need the money, and Frankie's job is going to pay a lot. So if you want to mope about and complain, why don't you find a job for us? So of course, Mia ends up teaming up with 2P to trash Joshua's place, and 2P is trying to get into Joshua's safe, and Mia tells him to leave it because it doesn't have anything of value in there. So 2P talks to Darren about how they found Ox's body, and the police even is asking around about Ox. And yeah, he tells Darren that he didn't talk and yada, yada, yada. So that's another issue for Darren to handle. And Adrian comes in, and then Adrian and Darren talk about how Smurf was over. And Darren notices that something is up with Smurf. So it will be interesting to see what the boys do when they find out that their mother has cancer. So in the flashback, Colin wakes Jeannine up. Apparently, he heard some noises as if the police was near, and him and Jeannine end up running into a forest. And it's quite clear that Colin is suffering from PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. And moving on. Craig is making a bleach bomb, and he is also telling Frankie that she shouldn't worry because everything is fine. They're going to pull the job. It's going to be successful. And then Smurf walks in, and Frankie and Craig are hiding the job that they're doing, and Smurf just wants Coke, and Frankie is like, Craig, give your mother some Coke. So Joshua decides to hang out with his classmates because we all know that he's planning to rip this guy's father because apparently his father is very rich and yada, yada, yada. So in the flashback, Jeannine wakes up. She spent the night in the forest and she notices that Colin is skinning a rabbit. And she talks about how he has learned to skin a rabbit. And Colin tells her that in Vietnam, they used to skin babies and eat them. Turns out it's a joke, and it's Colin's mother who taught him how to hunt and skin animals. And it leads to Jeannine sharing that her mother never really cared about her and how her mother used to send Jeannine away with men for money. So in the present timeline, we see Jeannine feeling sad, and she tells Frankie that she shouldn't have kids. And Frankie is like, I can't have kids because of the cysts that I had. And Smurf feels sorry for her because she thinks that Frankie would have been a good mother. And Frankie is like, do you really think so? Isn't being a mother a tough job? And Smurf tells Frankie that being a mother isn't a tough job. It's just a thankless job. So Angela ends up talking to Pope, and she notices that Pope is hiding stuff from her. And Angela reminds Pope about how Pope and Julia were always very secretive. And that leads to Angela confessing to Pope that she had a crush on Pope, but Julia told her not to do anything because it was as if Julia owned Pope. But now Angela is very happy that he shared her feelings towards Pope with Julia. Her feelings with Pope. And I'm like, Angela, I know that you're playing a game, especially after Smurf told Angela that when when things concern someone that Pope likes, Pope can get very unpredictable. So you can see that Angela notices that Pope is a very strong member of the Cody family, and she's trying to trap him. So Joshua wakes up and with the friends, and everyone is knocked out cold. And Adrian, we see Adrian, and he's waiting at the feds, and the feds are taking photographs of whatever item he's trying to smuggle drugs through. So it's the day of the job, and Craig again tells Frankie that there's nothing for her to worry about. And Craig also tells Frankie that she shouldn't think that Smurf is friends with her because Smurf doesn't like anyone. So Darren comes in, Frankie walks away, and again Darren talks to Craig about how he doesn't trust Frankie. So over at the Smurf residence, Angela knows that her presence in the house annoys Smurf, but she seems to be enjoying it. And turns out that Smurf had Lena's room painted, and I'm like, Smurf, yeah, you're playing a game too. You want Pope to notice. So over at the feds, it turns out that the feds have figured out that Darren is Adrian's boyfriend, and you just know that they're going to try and use Adrian to get dirt on Darren Cody. And you know what? I'm not here for it. So as far as the job is concerned, it's a well-planned job. They end up stopping the truck that's transporting the sculpture. In this car, we have Pope. Behind the truck, we have Craig. And yeah, the job is good. I'll be talking more about it in the written review that I do for this episode for the Geekiary. But yeah, I enjoyed how everything turned out. So by the end of it, Craig takes the truck to Frankie and he hands it over to Amin. And Frankie is like, see you later with the payment. And Craig is like, you can't just leave like that. I need the payment. I can't go back to my brothers without getting paid. So Frankie ends up paying Craig some of the money by herself. And Frankie is like, I'm not really sure what's up with you, Craig. This is how I do my job. You need to trust me and yada, yada, yada. And Craig is like, I'm not the one you should be worried about. It's my brothers. So over at the Cody residence, Smurf isn't feeling well and she is spitting out blood. And we get a flashback, and when Jeannine and Colin come back to the campsite after spending the night in the forest, and Colin walks away, she notices that the other men are making fun of Colin, and Jeannine doesn't want any of it. And she is like, yeah, make fun of Colin behind his back. You guys need him, so it's time for you guys to show him a little respect. So Joshua comes home and he notices that Mia has trashed the place. And I'm like, Joshua, what did you expect? Didn't you think that Mia was going to do something? So at Craig's place, Ren shows up, surprisingly, and she's still pregnant. And Craig invites her into the house. So over at the bar, Tupi wants to use Craig to fence some watches. And Tupi wants to use Darren as a fence to fence some watches, and Darren is like, I don't want none of that. And this is where Tupi kind of tells Darren what Adrian is up to with Jake and drugs and all of that. And yeah, Darren needs to confront Adrian about it before it gets way more out of hand. So Pope comes back home and and Angela tells Pope that Smurf ended up repainting Lena's room, and Pope isn't happy about it. So he goes to Smurf and he notices that Smurf is on the floor. She's passed out, and Pope is worried, and the episode just ends there. It was an enjoyable episode. I really liked how the Codys were able to steal the sculpture. A lot of trouble is brewing, so it will be interesting to see where it leads. I'll be doing a written review of this for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. And yeah, until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.